Today's chat is brought to you by, well, all of your support. Through the patronage you provide the Focus Fire chat team through Podbean's crowdfunding, we are able to provide you with the weekly podcast as well as the website and other aspects of Focus Fire chat. If you have any interest in becoming a patron of the FFC, please be sure to visit our website and click on the support link. Even a single dollar helps, and for those of you who are already patrons, thank you again for your generosity.
You may have heard the whispers of guardians gathering in the shadows, exploring the mysteries of this world and the worlds which surround us. We are all in search of truth. Sometimes we need to focus that search. Focus that fire. And so we come together. Welcome to Focused Fire Chat.
Welcome to Focus Fire Chat, recorded live on May 29th, 2020 over on twitch.tv/FocusFireChat. As always, want to give a big shout out to our live chat here with us tonight. Thank you so much for joining us once again. This week's episodes are going to be focused around exploring the story and overall concept of Felwinter's Lie. This particular episode will serve as what we have come to call the intro session of the week's exploration. Before we go any further, however, let's run through a quick introduction of who we have with us on the show. As always, this is your host, Blue Crew 86.
And this is the slightly distracted, yet still somehow on time, green-eyed music lover. I'm trying to type out the episode summary as we're speaking.
Well, this week we're also joined by actually a few others. First up, we have TheLazzrich, the Lich. Laz, how are you doing this evening?
Good, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Definitely. And then next up is our good friend and actually the Focus Fire Chat community manager, pensHALO. Pens, how's the evening treating you?
Oh, pretty good. Thanks for having me on.
Definitely. And then finally, we have with us NeoMadDog. Neo, how about you? How's everything going so far?
Yeah, thanks for having me back. I know I'm kind of a late comer to it, but I'm happy to.
Definitely. Well, so I know Green usually runs through a pretty good rounded, I call them inquisitions or interrogations. She doesn't like it, but
No one expects.
Show notes look like.
No one expects.
I need to put that on the. I need to put a meme on the stream overlay for these segments.
I mean, sure, we can do that. So, I actually broke it down since we have 3 guests tonight joining us for this rather prodigious roundtable we have on this topic, and I've broken it down to just 3 very important questions. And I have the order down in the show notes for you guys, so you can see who's going first. Laz, where can we find you?
Well, you can find me on Twitter. I'm at TheLazzrich. If I'm not posting about Destiny, I'm posting about kids because that's life right now.
Yeah, you have a pretty young one right now, don't you?
We have 2 young ones, a 3 and a 1-year-old. Yeah.
Life is fun.
This basically everything you're hearing tonight is a gamble because at any moment I could be called away, but I'm going to do it.
This is fine.
This is fine. Everything is fine.
Live life on the edge. It's fine.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cool. Is there any other places we can hit you up besides Twitter and Discord? I know you're there.
Oh man, I'm everywhere. I used to be a virus. I was in everyone's Discord server.
I mean...
No, not at the moment. No. Twitter's the basic spot you can find me. I am working on a side project podcast with my wife because she was like, "Oh, you podcast? I want to join you." I'm like, "Let's find stuff to talk about," but we're in the process of thinking of topics. So
I like it.
Yeah, so Twitter's the main spot to find me.
Bonding is always good. All right, Neo, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at NeoMadDog. I also post to a YouTube channel, also called NeoMadDog, though slightly different. It's got a hyphen and a space. I'll let you figure out where those are.
Oh gosh.
I don't really post. I don't really post anything on that channel. It's mainly just short clips that I record from playing Destiny. Like, if I do something, I might post it to mostly Twitter. That's the best place to find.
I gotcha. And Pens?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at pens_halo. Especially if you like retweets of cute puppies and dogs, mainly corgis. Also on Mixer, where all the other weird kids are, mixer.com/pensHALO.
Doing all sorts of Halo playthroughs.
Halo, I've picked up World of Tanks because,
nice.
Considering that's what I used to drive when I was in the Army.
Oh man, World of Tanks. I'm going to send you so many memes.
It is really fun. It's the more mature version of Battlezone for anyone old enough to remember that. So
I like it.
So
nice. All right, so this question's pretty straightforward. I'm just going to have you guys just sound off, not call your names or anything like that. So, what class do you primarily play?
Warlock.
Neo?
Warlock.
And Pens?
Titan.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not playing Spartan, but yeah.
Yes. Pens loves playing Titan on other subclasses than his primary subclass. We've had this conversation a few times.
Oh, yeah.
But, alright, so here's the crazy question. I'm gonna kind of avoid the history of where you guys, since I think everybody on here has either been on the show or has been kind of in the community for at least as long as I can remember. I've seen all three of you guys all over the place. So I'm going to skip ahead, and we're going to do the crazy question with, what is your favorite spinfoil theory out there, and why? Laz?
So, in terms of spinfoil, and again, there's nothing to prove this, there's nothing to disprove this, which is the whole fun of it. I firmly believe that Eris didn't get all of her hive knowledge just from Toland or just from however she managed to turn herself more hive-like. She has an Ahamkara bone, and I'm convinced that part of her is now the consciousness of Teox to an extent.
Okay.
Because she has all this knowledge of all of the hive gods and a lot of the hive workings, and you could attribute some of that to Toland the Shattered and his very hive crazy theories, but I firmly believe that part of her carries the consciousness of the one being whom the hive gods have yet to vanquish. That's my spinfoil theory there.
Kind of like this a little bit. It's definitely a different take on where Teox is, because it's always been a question of where did she go after the Books of Sorrows, because she's been playing hide and seek with orcs in some respects, but interesting if she's just there the whole time. I like it. Neo, what's your favorite spinfoil?
Okay, so my favorite spinfoil theory is one that I don't actually believe in. I just think it's really funny, and I just likes to say it every now and then. And I'm also choosing this one because they'll probably upset Green because she doesn't like this character. But I think, but my favorite spinfoil theory is that Callus is a Scion. There's nothing to prove it, and I just like it.
I don't know how I feel about this. Part of me is like, this is great. I can one-shot him then. But part of me, Blue, help. Sweet meat. Oh, God. That clip is going out, I think, in a week or so. All right, Pens, what is your favorite spinfoil theory?
I'm usually not one for spinfoil, but the simple fact of the matter is there was one that actually caused Mrs. Hyven to freak out on the podcast, and that's actually yours, of Eva being Savathun.
I love breaking people with that one.
Her reaction
was
great.
I just remember her being very frantic.
Just a bit.
Just
a bit.
Just breaking Mrs. Hyven doesn't seem like it would be that challenging, but you'd be surprised. Right.
And I will not claim responsibility if I happen to mention DeWicked when he was going on there, to not mention that when she would be on. But yeah.
It's wicked, though.
It is wicked.
That's true.
All right, so that is actually just kind of the rundown that I have for you guys. Blue, do we have any housekeeping notes before we hop into the intro episode?
Not really. The only one that I would give a bit of a shout to is to look over on the Lore Network. We're going to start trying to do what we're calling weekly lore roundup. Right now, the one that posted actually today was our first one, and it's focused on the members of the Lore Network, their YouTube channels. So right now, we are planning on doing that every Friday. I think if we can get that down, my next step is to do a podcast or articles version of that, maybe on Wednesdays, I'm thinking. So just, again, another way to kind of centralize information from everyone who's inside the Lore Network and also kind of cross-pollinate communities, get people kind of introduced to other people that they might not know about. But if you haven't seen that already, please give it a look. Let us know any feedback. Like, is there a way to do it more efficiently? Is there a way that you would prefer to see it? Any feedback's welcome. And then also, sharing it and getting other people to give us feedback is also always welcome as well. So, but yeah, that was pretty much my only thought.
I have one as well. So one of the things that Blue and I have been doing is Blue has been clipping audio clips from each episode that we've recorded. And I have been turning them into little teaser trailers for everybody on Twitter and other social medias if Blue remembers to post them. And
that's
so
a big if.
Yeah, it is a big if, but they are going up on Twitter. So I'm actually teasing each episode. So you're going to hear little sound bites of either really funny moments or moments that have interesting information in there. Just little short things. They're kind of fun. Blue mentioned Sweetmeats earlier. There is a Sweetmeats clip.
It's
and
glorious.
I may have also that one. I may have also put.
You teased the teaser on that one.
I did tease the teaser. But the other thing that you'll see in there in these little teaser trailers is sometimes I get inspired by what is being said, and there are fun little animations that pop up every once in a while, like puppies. There's an army German Shepherd that shows up in one of them. You should go find it. It's kind of awesome. Anyway, Blue, we ready?
We are.
Cool. So is it me again?
I believe that it is you. You are responsible.
This is terrifying. Cocktail knowledge time. Everybody grab a drink.
Too late.
Go to the fair.
Yes. Go to the fair, grab a bottle of mead, listen to top 3 so you understand these references, and get ready for some Felwinter. So, at Felwinter, little history behind him. He was, back in D1, considered an Iron Lord, and still is considered an Iron Lord, though he is dead. He was killed by us during the Siva crisis in the mission The Iron Tomb. He also had an amazing shotgun called Felwinter's Lie, and that shotgun has done some very devious things over the years. It has killed...
It's a sniper.
It is kind of a shoddy sniper. And it still is kind of a shoddy sniper. It is considered the second best shotgun in the game right now in D2. I think it's only getting beaten out by a few very specific roles of, is it the Mindbenders?
Yeah, I think
Ambition.
Yeah.
Mindbender's Ambition and the
Astra, yeah. So those 2 roles I think are still beating it out, but for those who have not done any grinding for those roles, Felwinter's is actually a great shotgun to use. There is still some debate out there on what quote-unquote the lie was. We're going to get into that a little bit into the meaty part of the episode because Felwinter's Lie, his shotgun, ends up in our hands at the end. And what was his lie? We actually did not know all the way through D1 nor the beginning part of D2. Was it the fact that Felwinter turned out to have alternative motives in what he was doing with the Iron Lords? Was it the fact that he is Rasputin's son? Etc. There's a whole bunch of different ideas out there. Weird thing, we get Felwinter's Lie in D2 at the moon bunker, which does not make a whole lot of sense to me. And that's still something that I want to get into is we killed him on Earth, we had a shotgun, it somehow disappeared, and then Rasputin has a version of it, on the moon, as well as a gauntlet and a single boot. Felwinter actually was around primarily in the Dark Ages. He was also Golden Age, but we don't have much from that as far as what he was doing during the Golden Age, besides the fact that he was collecting information for Rasputin. Then he was resurrected as a guardian during the Dark Ages and continued to try to evade Rasputin through much of the Dark Ages, and later teamed up with the Iron Lords and had his own mountain named after him, and then got killed, partially through Siva and Rasputin, and partially through us. The city, I think the interesting thing is that the Iron Lords were around and helped with the establishment of the city. They were helping with the battle or the patrols during Six Fronts and during the wall building, though I don't believe any of them were actually physically building any of the city. They were just allies to the city and helping with protecting them.
You know that Silumar was built.
Silumar wanted to build a tower. I don't know was he building part of the city?
Well, no. Well, it's not really confirmed outright, but since Silumar was very big in defenses, it would make sense that Silumar would be at least the one Iron Lord would actually want to help.
Yeah, I would agree with that, because he was obsessed with building the perfect structure. And he was the one that, like, he would build something and it would get destroyed, and he'd build it on the same spot again and again and again.
Mm-hmm.
So he was probably the architect that said, let's put dead bodies inside of these things? Inside of the walls?
You gotta do something with the Titans.
Oh, poor Titans. That is still one of the creepiest tidbits of lore.
I just love how Pins is like, I'm just...
So we did who, what, where, when, and the final one is why. Why is Felwinter such a big thing? Well, yes, I mentioned that Felwinter is confirmed as Rasputin's son, and Felwinter's whole storyline that we get into is kind of following the trope of, if I can't have him, no one can, which is something that's fairly popular in a lot of movies, with a jealous lover, or, in this case, a jealous AI/parent? ? Anyway, that is the cocktail knowledge. That is like the most basic summary that you need to know of all the hot spots when it comes to Felwinter. That leads us to some more history of it from D1. Blue, can I get you to read the Felwinter's Peak card from Destiny 1?
Yeah, definitely. Do you want me to just read the portion that we have here?
It is the whole thing.
Oh, yeah, it's the whole thing? Awesome.
Yep, it's just a shorty.
Entry 01A, Archivist Tyra Karn. Long before the last of the Iron Lords descended into the Plaguelands, this peak was the domain of one of their own, Lord Felwinter. His maps and outposts show the risen Exo roamed free from the Aral Seas to an eastern border known as Satan's Ridge. Open Satan 01A, Satan's Ridge 01A, before taking the oath. There is no evidence of human enclaves or encampments within this area, nor survivors within the Cosmodrome walls, but extensive one-way audio recordings with an unknown entity survive. Open Felwinter 9C, open Rasputin 62G, scan for possible links. A chance meeting with Lord Timur in the Moth Yards led to Timur's first reports on the promises of Siva. Felwinter's conscriptions into the ranks and the rising of the Iron Temple commenced shortly thereafter.
This helps clear up some of the timeline a tiny bit.
Mm-hmm.
Timur found Siva before Felwinter was conscripted.
Well, I
It's
think
not that he didn't find Siva. He learned.
Yeah,
of
I think
Siva.
Felwinter clued him in about Siva. Because he says that's what it is. A chance meeting with Lord Timur in the Moth Yards led to Timur's first reports on the promises of Siva. So Felwinter knew about Siva before he met with Timur, and Timur was the one that reported back to the Lords. And I think, if I remember correctly, Timur was also the one that vouched for Felwinter in The Liar, I think.
Yeah.
He's the one who actually spoke and brought him into their ranks. But yeah, I think I read that. I read that as Felwinter led Timur to understanding about Siva, who then took that information back to the Iron Lords, and then basically, because Felwinter was such a source of information, and probably because he wasn't opposed to... I mean, Felwinter had a lot going on that the Iron Lords were not aware of either, which ties back into Felwinter's lie. But, like, because he wasn't the stereotypical warlord, they probably were, you know, short of... I think the only condition was that he had to take the ghost out of his helmet.
Right. But he never did.
But he didn't.
It's funny how
Team's ghost, too.
Right? It's funny how Temur has such a tie-in with Felwinter, and we actually get more of that in the Lord Temur card, which I think, Laz, this is one of yours that you get.
Absolutely. You want me to read the whole thing?
If you want to, I just kind of caught highlights. It's up to you on if you want to read the whole thing or if you want to just kind of summarize it, what happened.
No, I can go through the full thing. I like the reading of the lore here. So, here we go with Lord Temur. This was added in Rise of Iron.
This is all D1 lore.
There we go. So, Temur's storm trance tears through a gang of dregs as Felwinter stumbles through the shifting sands behind him, miles inland of what remains of the Arabian shores. Where are you taking me? Felwinter rushes to Temur's side, his eyes jumping focus, anticipating another attack. You seem far too obsessed with these war mines. Temur stops and stares into the horizon as if smelling something. Not danger, discovery. He draws his fellow Iron Lord close. Tell me, Felwinter, he whispers, what does the word seraph mean to you? Felwinter leans in to whisper back, Old Earth theology? I know its power well. One can make great use of the traps of faith and its myths. Damn you, Exos! The whisper game abandoned. Do you even ponder the before? Or that number etched into your flesh? Do you see yourself in your dreams? A shank, then another, then more. Felwinter hits the ground and reaches for his sidearm. Temur hates interruptions and his face shows it. A wash of arc light grows in his hands and erupts as the pack of machine dogs falls nearly in unison. Temur grabs Felwinter, bringing him back to his feet and says, Have you ever wondered what it is that calls to you in that void of memory, where the edge of the past infects your present? He returns to his game of whispers. It's an itch you can't scratch, isn't it? Well, maybe you can. You think I am one of them? That all Exo are... Lord Felwinter, I know what you are. And you are no war mind or even one of its puppets. Come, you must see this. He makes a gesture toward like he's casting a spell over the sand. Follow my footfalls. This area is rigged with dirty fallen nonsense. They struggle up the dunes. Felwinter glides ahead. As he lands, a sandstorm rises to meet him. More shanks, hundreds of them. Behind them, a lone vandal sniper lays down, covering fire. Felwinter, realizing this mistake, runs back toward Temur, shielding himself in the light of suns. Temur continues forward, grasps the brass familiar around his neck, and closes his eyes. A slight hum rises, and his trance takes him deep into the sea of shanks, his trusted lash raised and tearing his path through the darkness. Felwinter is slow to follow, but fast enough to witness Temur's focus turn shanks by the pack against their vandal keeper, chasing him back toward the sea. Temur rushes to Felwinter, examining his head with the intensity of a cryptarch. Warmind, you are certainly as stubborn as one. Felwinter awkwardly pulls himself away and out of Temur's reach. With all respect, Lord Temur, whatever game you are playing with me has gone on far too long. This is just another dead zone. Oh, is it? Temur directs Felwinter's eyes toward the eastern horizon where a building crowned with the initial CB is now in view. We all have creators, humans, Exo, Warminds, even those poor awoken. Some are just easier to find. CB.
I just love the fact that Temur is basically insane.
Yeah, I always took him as a mad scientist type.
He really is just a mad
Not
scientist.
unlike Asher.
Why are you whispering, Temur? The Fallen don't understand you.
Sure, like he's casting a spell over the sand. Follow my footfalls. Yeah, he's very dramatic. If he's not mad, he's dramatic as all get out.
Well, because I think Temur was the one that Colivance was worried about him losing his mind.
Well, Gellion's the other one that they...
Well, Gellion's the one that everyone is...
Weirdo.
Yeah, Gellion's the one that everyone is uncomfortable because he's like, I can make you into a suit of armor.
Sharpening knives and, constantly.
Making knives out of bone. You know.
It's just like, well, what happens if we die? Well, the ribcage would make the best armor. I still love that. That entry is still one of my favorites. But no, I mean, I think this one too, if this is going to be, I kind of take this as being one of the meetings one of the earlier meetings between Temur and Felwinter, mostly because Felwinter is not referred to as Lord Felwinter, and he makes a point of always referring to Temur as Lord, or no, he is referred to Lord Felwinter.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe this is shortly after, but this definitely seems like they're still trying to get, like, they're still feeling each other out, really. But it's interesting to me because with what we found in The Liar, you know, Felwinter arguably would know quite a bit about his own past at this point in his story. So when Temur calls out that, you know, he's not a puppet of one, I find that interesting. I think that's a little bit of a funny thing.
It's fun going back and rereading some of these things because you find the tidbits of hints towards what we now know with The Liar, the book The Liar.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when it comes to just Felwinter's motives.
Mm-hmm.
He always seemed, we used to think that Felwinter was a lot more malicious. Granted,
No.
he's not very kind to other warlords, and he has no patience with them, which we'll find out here pretty soon, but he wasn't ever maliciously trying to trap anybody. And I think there was an old theory back in the day that Felwinter led the Iron Lords to their death, which was a theory about what his lie was.
Mm-hmm.
He sort of did, but not intentionally.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say he still kind of did, but it wasn't, it was kind of assumed that he was doing a Toland, and now it's more, no, he was tricked as much as anyone else. Mm-hmm. I think the other thing that this makes me really miss is the friendship artifact, that Memory of Temur artifact from D1.
I just miss artifacts in general.
Don't let anybody see you because it pisses.
Mm-hmm.
I love the friendship is magic. Friendship punch.
I kind of want to know how he did.
All I know is ogres were really friendly when you hit them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Temur had an 18 charisma.
Temur had a what, Pins?
An 18 charisma for anyone who's a D&D
Oh,
player.
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Nope. That's definitely accurate. So, I mean, what else do you guys have? Anything else that stands out to you guys on this particular one? I know chat's talking about right now. There is a card that was recently released that gives us Felwinter's kind of side of this story.
Oh yeah, because that's the whole thing about how he's got like his hand by his sidearm. Like, this Temur guy knows too much. That's like bust this guy in the skull with this thing.
No one would have to know.
Exactly. Even his ghost is like, well, wait a second, hold on. I think
Back in...
Yeah.
Sorry, let's go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, when I read this back in D1, it got this real feeling of a bit of standoffishness from Felwinter. And after reading The Liar and those cards, you kind of understand it, that he's playing everything close to his chest. I mean, why would he let things know when he's been being chased by a Warmind for as long as he can remember? So.
All right. I think we're going to jump into the Dormant Siva real quick, which is just it's a kind of the tie-in to one of the last big points from D1. Lazzrich, do you want to grab that one?
Yeah, absolutely. This one's short and sweet. Says Dormant Siva Iron Lords 2.6. So Felwinter tried to communicate with the Warmind, called it Rasputin. Consume, enhance, replicate. Said he could make it understand. Tell it we meant no harm. Rasputin didn't answer with words. And this is -siva.mem !0314.
I still can't help but read that with maliciousness. Like,
oh my god, yeah.
It's like,
well, especially with the information we have now, considering what Rasputin's goals were.
Yeah. Well, that, and also the connection to the Ironsbane, and like how it's like, you know, this was fragments of the last bits of reports that we were getting from the Iron Lords. I was like, yeah, he didn't answer with words. No, he didn't.
It's like, there you are. Have some of this.
So anything you guys, I know we're going to jump into the Green kind of was kind enough to go out and grab us. She actually transcribed the final mission from the Felwinter Lie quest. We'll get that here in just a second. But anything before we jump into that from the Dormant Siva? I'm trying to think real quick if we want to try to remember which one was which one from the Liars was it?
Which one are you looking for, Blue?
His God, I just blanked on the word. His perspective, yeah, of the teamer thing.
It was the web lore.
Oh, was it?
Oh,
okay,
yeah, Remembrance. Remembrance
towards the bottom.
I was just going to say if we wanted to read that real quick just to give another perspective of that. Trying to get it real quick for you guys. Oh gosh, yeah, this is the one with all the challenges.
It's the record, isn't it? The web lore?
Yep. I'm going to just grab it for everyone real quick.
It's actually in the advanced show notes.
Oh, Green's ahead of us.
Sometime during the late Dark Age, you seemed far too obsessed with these war mines, Teamer said to Felwinter. They'd been walking for hours, dipping in and out of fallen territory. Teamer made no effort to avoid them, and Felwinter followed his lead. He didn't know where they were going. Teamer had been talking almost non-stop, though, asking Felwinter what he knew about Siva, what he thought the war mine might have to do with it. It was lucky that Felwinter had already had a reputation for keeping quiet. He played dumb when Teamer asked about the Seraphs. Teamer was easily too riled up that way. It was good. It made Felwinter feel like he was still in control. As they tore through another round of shanks, Felwinter fell back and let Teamer do the heavy lifting. When Teamer spoke again, his voice was breathless with a passion and enthusiasm that Felwinter couldn't feel. "Have you ever wondered what it is that calls you in that void of memory?" Teamer breathed. "Where the edge of the past infects your present?" Felwinter was tense with expectation. He felt the world contracting around him until nothing existed but the sidearm in his hand. He heard his ghost in his helmet comms, whispering, "Wait." Teamer strode recklessly ahead. He expected Felwinter to watch his back, and he did. Watched him walk. Watched his ghost, too. There were a lot of fallen out here. Anything could happen to either of them. It would be easy to tell this story back home. "Don't jump to conclusions," his ghost whispered as they fell behind. But Felwinter heard uncertainty in her voice. He adjusted his grip on his sidearm, lifting his hand a little, and dropped it again as Teamer turned around. "It's an itch you can't scratch, isn't it?" "Well, maybe you can." Felwinter's expression was blank. His finger twitched on the sidearm. "You think I am one of them?" he asked as Teamer turned back around to lead the way. "That all Exos are?" "Lord Felwinter, I know what you are," Teamer said with a laugh in his voice. Felwinter lifted the sidearm again, and a familiar dread coiled in his chest. He saw his future changing. Again. He saw himself running. Again. He was so tired of running. The sidearm was level with the back of Teamer's head. Teamer had a smile in his voice when he spoke next. "I know what you are," he said, "and you are no war mind, or even one of its puppets." Felwinter's arm dropped and swung at his side, as if all his energy had gone out of him all at once. It was impossible, but he almost felt lightheaded. His ghost whispered something again, but he didn't hear it over his own relief. "Come," Teamer said. He walked with the arrogance of a man who didn't realize he'd brushed shoulders with death. "You must see this."
I love the different perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Teamer might have an 18 in charisma, but his wisdom is the dump stat.
Mm-hmm.
Turns back on a dangerous man. Mm-hmm.
Or a desperate one, but then again, desperation does lead to being dangerous in some cases.
A lot of cases.
You just like how from Teamer's perspective, he's just kind of like poking and prodding Felwinter, like, hey, I know what you are, whatever. And then you read you read Felwinter's perspective, and he's ready to gun this guy down, just like, oh, he knows too much. I've got to get rid of this guy now. And it's great to finally have that other side of the conversation, I think.
Mm-hmm. Just to know that it was fear and not just Felwinter trying to hide something. I mean, he is trying to hide something, but...
Right, it's a fear the secret or maybe even the lie is about to be revealed.
Mm-hmm. There is one more thing I wanted to mention before we got into the final mission in the Felwinter's light quest, which was actually one of the Siva fragments that we picked up in Rise of Iron.
We read that one.
You read that one? Awesome. Cool.
Yeah, did you have anything you wanted to throw in on that particular one? Okay.
It's just I think it's one of the important things that likely the Iron Lords didn't know who Rasputin was. They just knew he was a war mind. Felwinter knew it. That's it. Cool. We ready for the lie quest?
We are.
It's in Neo. So I have.
Do you want me to use a high pitched voice?
No. Unless you want to. It would be.
Oh my god.
It is whatever makes you happy, Neo. If you want to be Anna in the higher pitched voice, you are more than welcome to. I did tell Pins if he wanted to try the Russian, he could, but I didn't write it out, so he would just be muttering gibberish at that point. But yeah, this is the transcript from the mission that we just completed this season. I think it bears reading or at least listening to again, because there are tidbits in here that are not necessarily in the Liar book. Things that just a little bit more clarity given from a few different perspectives of Rasputin. So, Pens is playing the part of the narrator, and Neo gets to be Anna.
Okay, so you enter the bunker and you come across the first image, and then Rasputin speaks.
He's telling a story. In a time of great prosperity, a tyrant king sent his son to live among the enemies.
Rasputin speaks again.
He did so for many until a great calamity befell. In the aftermath, the tyrant's son was chained.
At this point, the second image appears, and Rasputin speaks again.
The tyrant's son turned away from his father and became a warrior. The tyrant chased his son across fields and mountains, and he said, "If I can't have my son, then no one shall."
At this point, we go further down into the bunker, and there's a third image that appears, and Rasputin speaks again.
The tyrant used his own son's love against him. He promised him a miraculous technology that could build. When his son came to claim it, unleashed a plague upon him. His son was destroyed. The tyrant looked upon his tyranny and wept.
At that point, the secret bunker opens up, and we go further down into it.
Is Rasputin, is he talking about himself? I think the tyrant's son.
The tribute tomb raises and opens. Another digitized Felwinter holding his shotgun is in it. Curiously, there are pieces of armor also recovered, a right gauntlet and a right boot. You then deploy your ghost at a terminal to the left of the tomb and reestablish connection with Anna.
Guardian, can you read me? There you are. Comms cut out completely. You're in a really old part of the bunker. The signal's terrible. Where are we?
You then deploy a ghost on the Rasputin-marked capsule with cords coming out of it.
This looks like the casing of an old safety AI, but marked with Rasputin's symbol. These transcripts suggest his original code was for age space stations, checking oxygen levels, fuel, that kind of interplanetary defense system. And Rasputin kept all this, almost like a scrapbook of his past, a way to remember his roots, and he showed it to us. When did he be so sentimental? Wish Zavala could see this.
That last section, especially, with the, this looks like the casing of an old safety AI, but marked with a Rasputin symbol. These transcripts suggest his original code was for sort of emergency response system from pre-Golden Age space stations. I think that's really one of the things that I feel is one of the most important aspects of this mission, is the fact that Rasputin, prior to the Rasputin that we know in-game now, prior to the Tyrant, was literally just a AI that was kind of an emergency response system, checking oxygen levels, fuel, that kind of thing. Which, if we remember, I'm trying to remember the card. Do you remember
it was from the Eververse set from Warmind expansion. It was the it was supposed to be the armor from the Ares 1 mission.
Right, there's that, but then I was thinking about the I want to say Chin Lanshu. Lanshu is the last name, but I can't remember the name of the first name. General Lanshu, the one who's flying over the Cosmodrome.
Yeah, well, but that was after that was during the Golden Age.
Okay. I was just trying to remember when he got repurposed.
Right, because that was during the beginnings of the Exodus project, because they were loading up ships. I think a lot of the Mihailova's armor set talks about what's referred to as the R, I think it's the R subsystem code that was being worked on with the Ares 1, which is what a lot of people have made the connection already, that R as a subsystem code would evolve after work from, and I just blanked on the lady's name, but the lady who was working on her at the time was continuously building on it, and Mihailova was very critical very paranoid about how much the experimental AI is being given. Mihailova's Triumph even calls it out, that Mihailova says, that's what I've codenamed the deepest core of the experimental AI at the heart of the new ship. And he's doing very well, now writing his own code, off the charts well. Would E even understand? Likely she'd go running to Hardy, show him some of the odder items where R has written some of his own code and seems to be, how can I put it, passing judgment on us like a little hidden critic. No, the AI must be protected so that he can function best in the limited way we need. Not sure how to keep her away, but giving her access could be catastrophic. So R is the subcode, basically, that this experimental AI at the core of the Ares 1 mission ship was being given. And so then you see how, because the call out there about, it's a security AI, so it's monitoring oxygen levels, which, yes, it would monitor oxygen levels. It's monitoring all the life systems and stuff aboard that ship as well, which, if you remember the tragedy with the Ares 1 with the fire, and the suspicion there for the R subsystems as being potentially one of the causes for it.
Responsible?
Yeah. Because, again, life system AI. I'm sorry, Dave. Yeah.
Sorry.
So there is one more thing on this I know Blue has been itching to talk about, but I'm going to force him to wait until the advanced episode to talk about it.
Fine.
Because
I figured we would.
Yeah, because one of the very first things that you had sent me after doing the mission was about the line, when did he learn to be so sentimental? And the implications of an AI having emotional sentimentality.
Yep. That, and the fact that he calls out the fact that he, at least through Anna, acknowledges that there was a mistake and that he feels sorrow for that mistake.
Yep.
And the quotes that are, I think they're from the Siddhartha Golem entry from The Lyre, but there's two quotes. One is, and weep the more because I weep in vain. And then also, experience is the teacher of all things. So, again, Rasputin has a tendency to quote things that are very tied to what he is supposedly kind of processing. So it's interesting to see him quote those particular things. Also, because that was how Anna, in her previous life, would teach him logic and how to process things. She was a psycholinguistics specialist. So
cool. Do we have any final thoughts on introduction stuff for Felwinter before we switch over to the advanced episode?
Nothing for me.
No.
I'm sure I'm going to expand on this a lot more during the advanced session, but I think it's really interesting to sort of the character that throughout the entire story, or instead of just being like this he retains his paranoia and aloofness to the rest of the group. He does seem to care about his compatriots later in his life. Before his death, he even starts feeling other emotions. At least he certainly seems.
Felwinter, yeah. He definitely has an arc of where he came from compared to where he's going, almost as if it's a evolution that Rasputin is also going through. We can talk about that if you'd like to. Blue, you want to take lead on that?
Yeah, I was just thinking, you had mentioned at the beginning of the episode how you were curious about the gun.
How the shotgun got to the
gun,
moon.
And then also there's the gauntlet and the boot. First off, how did they get to the moon? And also, what's the significance? What are those? What do you guys think those are? I mean, shotgun's obvious, but I mean, like the gauntlet and the boot. Why that seems like a random piece of gear.
Felwinter's final death was in the Siva replication chamber, so that is a Rasputin creation. I don't think it's too much of a stretch. His frames or whatever might have retrieved whatever was left of Felwinter's corpse and brought it back for safety.
That's an interesting thought. I hadn't even thought about the frames being used as a carrier pigeon, essentially.
I mean, that does follow with what they're doing in game currently. They're being, the two, what do you call them? The buddy bots that you have to protect. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's pretty much what they're doing. They're going to activate a node, basically. So I mean, I would agree. It doesn't seem too far stretched to think that, and if he's in control of Siva, if he's able to control Siva, which we're all pretty sure he is,
I mean,
he
can understand it. He's the one who's writing the code for it.
Yeah, I mean, so to the Iron Tomb's not going to be a tomb for him. He's just going to be like, pew.
I just think it's interesting that we were kind of hinting at the sentimentality. There is a difference between just feeling bad and saying that you feel bad and literally going in and picking up what pieces are left of him to transfer to this time capsule that he's created in the moon bunker at the base of the moon bunker, where his old little hive brain is essentially. It's a whole different level of it. I had the thought that Felwinter's lie, the shotgun itself, may have been just recreated using Siva, but the boot and the gauntlet being there makes it definitely lend itself to the fact that he had somebody bring it to the moon.
Yeah,
a frame or something.
Triggerblade in chat was talking about that earlier. I missed it. I apologize, Trigger. But yeah, he was saying the same thing. He not Felwinter, Rasputin. We have evidence of Rasputin in the past sending these frames to go do stuff for him. I mean, he sent it against Felwinter. The frames that
the army,
Griffin and him had to fight were frames. Mm-hmm. So I mean, again, that would be. I don't know if that is the intent, but that would be a really easy kind of little. This is an explanation, piece. I guess my question is, why just one gauntlet and one boot?
I'm wondering if that's all that was
we
left.
did. Remember, we blew it up. We blew up the Siva replication chamber at the end of the Rise of Iron chamber. That's probably all that was left.
Okay.
Well, no, but what I mean though is that he probably would have taken that if he felt bad, and it was like right after Felwinter's death, he would have claimed those like not long after it. So it may have been that, in Unleashing Siva, it pretty much destroyed or changed all but those pieces. And then he brought them to the moon, to this memory box, for lack of a better term. That's all that was really left. And in some ways, the scary part of any sentient AI is when they actually start acting more human, is that's actually a very human trait. If someone passes away, you hold on to pieces of them or stuff to keep their memory alive. Is probably the best way I know how to say it. So
yeah, and I guess my only combat or my only counter argument to that is, and Dancing Veru is talking about this in chat, is the lore tab on a sudden death is there's a comment about the lying robot no longer lies with others. Where is he? And if you see that as a reference to Felwinter, that has some major implications.
It was also
Or go for it.
Was why we had wondered if Felwinter was around still going into this whole quest. As far as I kind of agree with Dino in chat about why there's only one gauntlet and one boot, with the fact that Siva, the monstrosities that we fought in the Iron Tomb were very Hulk-esque, and so those pieces may have been destroyed.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just go back to I don't know, like my brain is making a couple connections too with the information that we saw in Legacies with the Echo process, and like how they were able to replicate the sentience basically and restart it. And then with Felwinter and his references to the Deepstone Crypt and stuff like that, I mean, like, we know that the Exos are pretty much already digitized personalities anyways. So, I mean, I hate even bringing it up because I know it's a very big spin foil. But just because the body is gone for an Exo, that doesn't mean much.
Do you think that Rasputin assimilated Felwinter back into him in the Iron Tomb?
I mean, technically, if Siva absorbed him, the code gets. I mean, that's the thing, is like there's a lot of different directions that can go. Now, I mean, we have to be 100% fair. We haven't seen that happen with anything else. Not that it's not possible, but we don't have any. We don't have any precedents for that assumption. But the thing that I was actually pointing to is that all these Exos, one of the current theories about Exos is that their intelligences are saved within the Deepstone Crypt. And so, again, okay, so Felwinter's body got destroyed. The benefit of a digital consciousness is that you're not bound to a single physical frame. So, and this is the same argument that everyone makes with Cade and his whole situation. So it's just, to me, there's an interesting possibility. Plus, with the whole, the lying robot no longer lies with the others. That could be a reference to Rasputin's recovery of the body for, whether he wants it as a keepsake or to do a memorial, whatever. If he's feeling sorrow, then closure for that is a very big part of dealing with sorrow. But there's also the possibility that we have something else going on.
Yeah, it's weird to think that Rasputin would have I would actually believe that Rasputin has a less emotionally charged reason for keeping Felwinter.
I agree 100%.
I would believe that he'd brought him back in to try to assimilate him, or just have the aspect of it there. But the idea of an AI with this emotional connection is also intriguing.
That's terrifying, is what that is.
It is, and I know we're going to get into it in the advanced episode, which might be a good place for us to cut off on this, because I have a feeling that's the next thing we're going to really dive into.
Yep, I'm good with that. Sorry, chat's talking about those connections, so... So shoutouts for the intro session. I will let the guests go first. So let's just run through real quick. Laz, do you have any shoutouts for us?
I'd say just the community trying to keep their heads up during this time. We're all stuck at home to some extent, and hopefully an end is close so where we can head outside and be somewhat free, and I feel like the community has done a decent job of trying to keep their heads on or screwed on tight, so shout out to them.
Neo, any shout outs for you?
I think I want to shout out to my clan, Paracos, particularly one member, Soul Shoal, because about half an hour ago while I was sitting here with you guys, he asked me if I wanted to play Trials with him, and I had to say no.
Aww. There's all weekend you'll get to. Hopefully he doesn't have to work.
Yeah, I think we're going to do Sunday now.
Nice. Pins, any shoutouts from you?
Yeah, definitely for Focus Fire Chat. Thanks for having me on again. And also just a shout out to not just the Destiny community, but people in general. Just remember to be kind to one another, please. Mm-hmm. It's all nuts right now, and we all could just a little human kindness.
Patience.
Yeah.
Patience is important now. Even if you don't agree with somebody, be patient and don't knee-jerk react. It does not bode well for most people if you do. My shout-out is actually just an announcement for next week. Next week, Blue, Informage, and I'm going to butcher her name, Blue, so I'm going to need you to say it.
Mochi Llama.
Mochi Llama. That is a lot easier than what it looks like in text.
Okay, grenade musket lover.
It looks like... Mochi... I don't know what it looks like. My brain... It's 11 o'clock here. I've been up since 6. I know, you guys are at 1 a.m.
Heyo.
Yeah, New York. Blue and the fabulous duo of those two are going to be talking about Avatar: The Last Airbender while I am on a short hiatus for my anniversary. I promised Julie that I would actually take the weekend off so I can spend it with her. So,
congrats.
Yeah. So we're going to do that. This will be 4. Yep.
Sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yes, so we are not going anywhere. We're not doing anything. But we're gonna be together.
It's a cornversary.
Oh God, it's like it's kind of sad. I might
Anniversary.
I might spruce it up and like try to dress up a little bit and like do a candlelit dinner on our. Maybe do a picnic or something. I don't know. We'll figure something out. But I did promise that I would take Friday night off so we could do whatever she wanted.
There you go.
Yeah. Blue?
Just a big shout out to everyone who has given us feedback on some of the new stuff that we're trying out with the Lore Network site and then also with the podcast. I know we've kind of been... It feels like, at least to me, that we've been kind of jumping around doing different stuff, trying different things out. It's actually really... been nice for us behind the scenes because it's taken a ton of pressure off of us and actually given us a room to breathe so that we could focus on doing some of these other stuff. You know, I'm working
and trying new things.
Yeah, and trying new things. I'm working with Uni on the side to get some other stuff, you know, in place that we can start doing. So it's just a really big thanks to everyone who has not just given us, you know, have been patient with us, but also has given us feedback. Feedback is the lifeblood of pretty much any content creator, and us especially, because here's a big secret, guys. We don't know what we're doing. Like, we're kind of making all this stuff up as we go. And so we really appreciate when whoever gives us feedback on, you know, if something doesn't work, let us know. We're not going to get mad. We're actually going to probably tell you thank you, because we don't know. Or if something does work, you know, give us a heads up that it, you know, yeah, keep doing that. That means so much to us, and I really want to say thank you again to anyone who has taken time out of their day to send us just even a quick message about stuff. It is so appreciated. So thank you so much for taking time and giving feedback. Other than that, I just want to thank you, your listeners, for your time. And until next time, remember, with wisdom we conquer. Stand strong, stand tall, and keep exploring. With that, we'll begin to wrap the chat up. Thank you again to those over on Twitch for coming to spend your evening with us. If you'd like to join us for the live streaming of the episodes, please be sure to give us a follow over on twitch.tv/FocusFireChat. Links to all our episode archives can be found at www.thelorenetwork.com. Please be sure to email us at focusfirechat@gmail.com with any comments and or questions for the team concerning the podcast, and let us know how we're doing by giving us some feedback and a rating over on iTunes as well. So until next time, focus your fire and may your light shine bright.